All right, guys, we're going to get started. I am super excited today because I am going to practice. I'm going to do my best, but I'm going to practice the very attribute that we are going to talk about today as being the top, what science said is the top attribute of entrepreneurs that are successful. It's the attribute that they share in common. That is the top attribute. Gibbons, I can hear it now. Stop searching. Stop searching. No Googling. What's the top? All right, you guys got to guess. You got to use your actual brain today, and you're going to figure out what the top attribute is of entrepreneurs, um, entrepreneurs around the world. And we're going to get things started. And I've got a big announcement for you today. You guys are going to love it. I certainly know I was excited when I came up with the idea. I love it. In my head, when I come up with an idea, it's like brilliant. The seas part and the sun shines and the grass is green and then someone wakes me up and says, "Carl, that's the dumbest thing I have heard you come up with in a while." All right. But I am, all right, who's cheating already? I didn't even ask the question. That's right. Hard-headed, persistent. That's right. So a quick story on that, and then we'll get started. So welcome everybody as you're coming in. So I coached a guy. His name was Chet Holmes, and Chet Holmes in the mid 2000s. He's passed away, unfortunately. Great guy and sales trainer, and he was trying to get he was trying to get a partnership with Tony Robbins, which I coached him, and he eventually got. But he put out a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine, and if you read the book, the words ultimate sales machine are like nowhere in the book. And when you write a book, you're supposed to take whatever the title is, and then you're supposed to say it a lot of times in the book. And if you read the book, it says pig-headed determination, pig-headed persistence, pig-headed executive, pig-headed energy. And then the original name of the book was The Pig-Headed Salesperson. The Pig-Headed Salesperson Wins the Deal, right? And so he got this whole book ready, and the book company said, "We're not trying to sell a book called The Pig-Headed Executive or The Pig-Headed Salesman. You got to change the title." And he's like, "Well, the book is done. I've written, pig-headed is everywhere in the book." And they said, "That's great. And if you want us to sell it, you got to change the name." And so he changed the name to The Ultimate Sales Machine, but the word pig-headed is everywhere in there. And that's a close cousin to hard-headed, Todd. So I'll give you that one. All right. So we'll have two opening questions here. And so number one, what do you think is the number one, research has shown the number one winning attribute that all successful entrepreneurs share? Go ahead and put that in the chat, and then we'll kick things off proper. Okay. So go for that. Julia, thanks for setting everything up. Everyone, welcome to the President's Meeting, September 16th, 2020. Our theme is going to be Welcome to the President's Council. And I want to share with you a little story and my brilliant idea. So if you'd like to now, you don't even have to wait. You could put in the chat, "Hey, Carl, that's brilliant. That is really, really good." So you don't even have to wait. No need. Yeah, see, there you go. So good. Some attributes coming up there. Good guesses. We'll do our opening question. I'm in the betting kind of mood today. So we'll play with that theme a little bit. But welcome to the President's Council, because I'm going to pivot the format of this meeting, and I'll share with you the basis of where I'm coming from, and how not only can we be involved, how you can be involved personally, but how we want to have a greater impact on the people we serve through this call. So I want to expand what this call and what this meeting is all about. First, as we always do, is the latest is, hey, we thought there was a stimulus package coming in the U.S. Now there's a question mark, but now even Democrats and Republicans are breaking rank and complaining that there's not one. So I would say there is definitely a feeling that the sports will be coming back, there'll be a stimulus package. The Big Ten announced today that football is coming back in October. Some places in the country are reversing trend on whether or not sports are going to play. You say, "Well, what do I care? I'm not a sportsman or a sports person." That's fine. But the economies around sport are very high, number one. But number two, they are a bellwether for and leading indicator for other aspects of the economy. And because the pressure, good or bad, I'm not here to argue with whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. You can make the case on either side for sure. But what it will force us to do is learn how to gather together safely. Because if we want to keep school going and we want to keep sports going, we are going to have to figure out how to gather safely. And as we've talked about on this call many times, welcome, Kay. The This is not going away anytime soon. We are in this for the next couple of years minimum, and certainly this business cycle is going to be with us for the next 5 to 9. But uh, the normal uptake of vaccinations, of treatments, even if they were to come up with one, tomorrow, estimates are it would take 4 years to get enough people vaccinated where it would make a difference. At that point, this pandemic will have worked its way through our society. So it's us. It's on us, like it always is. As entrepreneurs, we're used to this. Nobody comes for us. Now, one of the things that I liked about the PPP and the economic injury disaster loans and the upcoming stimulus is they actually did think of the entrepreneur, and they put together what were some research and research, and the data has shown that these were actually very impactful, and they had a positive impact on the economy. So even though it's only a couple of months ago, they were far enough away from PPP and EIDL that people said, hey guys, that worked. By the way, that actually really did work. Well done. So I would suspect we're going to see more of that. But in the meantime, right now the theme is masks, but I don't know what it's going to be later. But we are going to have to learn how to gather, safely without spiking the economy. So I'm in a betting mood. There are some schools that have in-school instruction, and wouldn't we have all guessed at some point we would have admitted that the key to the economy coming back is getting our kids back to school, because if the kids go back to school, we can go back to work. So how long, if you would type this in, and Julia will capture the answers. Not only what is the top attribute of all successful entrepreneurs share in common, but number two, here's your answer. Here's your question. How long do you think schools will maintain in-school instruction before being forced to go remote for those schools that have actually offered in-school instruction? So there are schools right now that are doing in-school. My daughter's school is one of them. Not all. Some are hybrid. Some are all remote. Some haven't decided yet what they're doing. But for those that have maintained in-school instruction, how long do you think it's going to be before they have to go to remote, if at all? So give your best guess there, and Julia will read them out later. So I want to share with you something I did 8 years ago, and was kind of in the back of my mind for this call. This president's meeting on Wednesday at 2:00 was designed for us to come together, put our heads together, put our ideas together, chat amongst each other, and not just. I'm not about just surviving this time. 2.5 weeks. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Not just survive this time, because if you've been hearing anything I've been saying over the last 10 years, is that we are in this winter season and we are in this correction. And when we go through the second correction, which we are in the middle of right now, all right, a new economy will emerge. And in my opinion, we are post-COVID from the standpoint of buyers' preferences. And there will be a swath or a tranche of businesses that come out of this and will be the big winners. And I mean big winners. And you're seeing, if I list some celebrity companies like Amazon and Target, you're like, yeah, they're crushing it. In-home homeschooling companies, in-home meal delivery companies, franchises that deliver, that deliver the experience. There will be companies that are huge winners from this time. And there are huge winners from every winter, every 80 years, every time for the last 500 years without fail. Like clockwork, it happens every single time. Okay. So the idea with the president's meeting was, let's put our heads together and make sure we're on that list, that we crush it. Right? That we don't come out on the other side exhausted, worn out, totally drained. Right? That might be how some of you are feeling right now, and I get that. All right. But we are in a different world now. We're in a new economy. We're in a new reality. And I know these words get passed around a lot, but I don't want to mince words. And I know a lot of us have spoken one-on-one. We have to redefine how you interact with your customers, and we have to redefine that relationship. We have to add or tweak your service and price, your service offerings, your prices and your bundles. Okay, that's got to happen. All right. So and so I was very happy to see, as you know, Kelly and Stu and some of the Stumpy's Hatchet House team come on this. I'm not sure if they're on here today, but as first off, we said, be open, because if you're visible now, you'll be visible later. They stayed open the whole time. The entire system made it through COVID. A lot of their competitors didn't open, all right, because they had adjusted to be different, or just to be different. They changed their business model, and it was different than Stumpy's. But now, in order to open, they are reverting towards the Stumpy's model. So that was very rewarding to hear that pivot not only helped Stumpy's survive and do well, and has increasing sales now, but the market is pivoting in their direction. So it was interesting to see that happen. Okay, and so and so with us putting our heads together, with me and the 7-stage team sharing our guidance, and for a lot of us, we're working on a weekly and sometimes daily basis, but certainly monthly, and in some cases we have a less active working relationship. But the idea behind this was, let's figure out what really works. Let's cut through the crap. Let's find the part of the news that serves us. And let's not get caught up in the drama and the story of what's going on. And let's get to what's real and what we really need to do. Okay. And the president's meeting was designed for that. And we did this every single week, right, in the beginning, because things were changing so much and there was so much uncertainty that it was necessary to do that. And then I asked the question at the end of June, what frequency would you want these calls to be? And we decided that it was going to be every other week, and then we would reevaluate in September. Well, here we are. We're midway through September. There'll be one more in 2 weeks, and my thinking is still to stay with a 2-week time frame, unless you tell me different. Unless you think 1 month would be better or every week would be better. But before you answer that, let me tell you what I'm thinking. 9 years ago, I was not only part of a group called the Entrepreneurs Organization, I still am, but I was on the board, and I was the president-elect at the time, and that's president-elect is code for you were dumb enough to volunteer to be president or elected president, and you got a year to wait before you come in. Basically, that was president-elect year. But that year, I got turned on. I was reading an article in Time magazine. You remember those things? They used to come in paper. They're gone now, right? I was reading an article in Time magazine, and it was about this book. And it's called The President's Club, and the story that really got me was, there was a story about President Bush Jr., George W. Bush, W, not Herbert Walker, George W. Bush. And there was a story about him in there, and how he and his father and President Clinton at the time came to work together. And the premise of the book is that it's the world's most exclusive fraternity, and how much presidents actually collaborate behind the scenes. Now, this was written prior to Obama and Trump. An update on this would be fascinating, especially with our current president, who has outwardly rejected being in the club. But the interesting thing for me was how much they actually how much they actually participated in each other's administration. As a matter of fact, what you get from the book was that Richard Nixon was basically the vice president of the United States until the day he died. While he made a lot of mistakes, and while we can argue what if you like this politics or not, he was probably the highest regarded, most highly thought of negotiator, politician, and leader from the standpoint of strategy and how to do what to do, by all of the presidents that came after him to his death. Virtually every president confided in him and utilized his mentorship to the day he died. Democrat, Republican, didn't matter. It was fascinating to hear how much all the other presidents relied on him, went to him for counsel throughout the course of their career, regardless of whether or not they agreed with his policies or his behavior or whatever. They all tapped that guy's mind for the rest of his career. Fascinating. Highly recommend the book. I even found you a cheap version if you don't want to go for the Amazon $20 or whatever, $25 version. But the basis of the book and what the story that got me was, basically every president in the club has each other's back, to the point where it's no questions asked. If the president needs you for something, you just say, yes, Mr. President, what do you need? And you got it. And what struck me was there's a story about George Walker Bush. I'll circle back to that with George Walker Bush. And at the time, he was not getting along with his father. Apparently, it was a rough patch in their personal relationship. They were close before and certainly close after that, but they were not close during this time. And if you recall, the tsunami hit, and over 200,000 people died as a result of that tsunami in Southeast Asia. And not only did W not get along with his father, he and Bill Clinton were heated rivals. They did not like each other at all. Didn't like each other. Their families didn't like each other. They personally didn't like each other. And so, so W picks up the phone, calls his father. And when the phone, so as the story goes in the book, George Herbert Walker Bush picks up the phone and realizes it's his son. And his son says, I'm not calling as your son. I'm calling as the President of the United States. And his father said, Mr. President, what do you need? He said, I want to raise money for tsunami relief. He goes, and I haven't made the next call yet, but I'm going to call Bill Clinton, and you are going to raise money with Bill Clinton. And you are going to spearhead, the two of you are going to work together and spearhead a campaign to raise money for the Tsunami Relief Foundation. And he, with no questions asked, no hesitation, he said, you got it, Mr. President, I'll await further instruction. He hangs up the phone, he picks up the next phone, he calls Bill Clinton. Now these guys don't like each other. Bill Clinton picks up the phone and says, yes, Mr. President, what can I do for you today? And he says, I would like you, he goes, as you know, this is the president. I want you to work with my father in tsunami relief. Gave him the overview, gave him his marching orders, and he said, Mr. President, you got it. I'll await further instruction. And as you might recall from back at that time, the Tsunami Relief Foundation, the Tsunami Relief Fund was one of the most successful fundraisers ever in history. And George Herbert Walker Bush and Bill Clinton worked together on this for a few years, to the point that not only did the Clinton family and the Bush family reconcile, but apparently, well, Bill Clinton and George Bush became very, very close friends, Junior. Bill Clinton became even closer with George Herbert Walker Bush, to the point that Bill Clinton said, this is the father I felt I never had, or this is an extension of my family. He is a father figure. And they were incredibly close all through, the rest of George Herbert Walker's career. Life, I should say. Life, I should say. And I thought, man, wouldn't that be cool to have a club like that? Now I'm part of a forum with EO, and if I were to pick up the phone and dial any one of them, they'd pick up the phone. They'd be there for me. There's no question about it. And I'm not suggesting I don't have that. And there's many other people in my life I'm blessed with that. If I had a problem and I needed something, I could pick up the phone and call them. So I don't want to marginalize that at all. There's many people in my life that I'm blessed to have in my life. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have a club, a president's club, where not only would people have my back, like there's plenty of people I can call right now and they'd have my back, but they would not understand what I go through every day. And for those of you on this call, I suspect that you've got plenty of people in your life too, that you could pick up the phone and you could call and they would have your back and they'd help you in any way they could, but most of them wouldn't understand where you're coming from. Right? You go to a family outing, you're likely one of the most successful people in that room. You can't be walking around talking about, what's new? Oh, really? Well, I raised money for this and I did that foundation for that and I was awarded for this. And you're not saying that at the family barbecue. You're keeping your mouth shut, making it about everyone else. And oh yeah, things are going okay. Yeah, we're hanging in there, staying busy, right? And I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? But where is that place in your life where not only do people have your back and they can help you, not just like go get them, right? But they can actually jump in and meaningfully help you, okay? But also they've been through what you've been through. And so going back to 2012, I am now becoming the president of the chapter of EO. And so I said, I want to put together this council. So I did a little research. I found all of the past presidents of New Jersey. Now in 2012, the criteria was that you had to be an active member and you had to have been president to be in the club, but we would invite the current president and the current president-elect and as guests until they became the past president, and then they were in the club, if you know what I mean. And so I sent every past president a book. I sent every past president a little crystal saying, thank you, and a certificate. Steve Schneider, who's on the call, was a past president, but I don't think you had come back into the chapter at that point. So wouldn't you know, I think EO's chapter was, 14 or 15 years old, but 10 of the past presidents were actually still active members. I didn't know any of this. I was a relatively new member at the time. And I said, wow, this is fantastic. So I called everybody personally and I said, would love to have you part of this. I said, this is not another job. I'm not trying to lay anything on you. Well, so here's what I'm thinking. We get together 3 times a year. It's just us. Everybody's been a president before, and the current one going through it now. You all have been through it. You all know what's going on. You've all walked the same mile in the same set of shoes. So when I say to you, here's what's on my mind, you can relate to me, okay? And you understand where I'm at. I want to put this club together. So this was kind of my contribution to EO, because now there's, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 of those or whatever. But New Jersey was ground zero. I started the past President's Council. And soon after that, New York, Philly, the African chapters all through the U.S. It kind of made its way through EO, and it's a very, very popular initiative now in Entrepreneurs Organization. Well, I started that in 2012, and it has not disappointed. We get together on average 3 times a year, and in the beginning it was very loose. It was just sharing experience. It was another forum group where we talked about what's the one big thing. What's the one big thing going on with you right now? Okay. What's the one big thing going on with you that's positive? What's the one big thing you might need some feedback on? We get you, and we got your back. All right. And then we would say to whoever the current president was, what's happening in the chapter, and we'll experience share. So the first thing that helped me was when I was coming into my presidency, what I found was the current board was pretty small. And there were people that were repeat members, on the board, so there wasn't much of a bench. All right, so I wanted to change that, but I was going to initiate a lot of change in the chapter. So I went to a couple of the other past presidents and I said, who should I have on my board? And they kind of like looked down, and you're like, they didn't want to say the answer because they didn't want to be, they knew by answering they would be volunteering. And they were like, Carl, I'm a bit tired about being on the board, but I got to be honest with you. What I have learned is if you want to get things done in your chapter, have past presidents on your board, because we will have your back. And if there's an initiative that, needs a little swaying or negotiating, well, guess what? The moment we speak up, it'll be done. I said, thank you guys. I said, I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a deal that you don't have to do much physically, like a tactical job this year, but I want you on my board. And they said, fine, I'll do it. So I assigned somebody to one chair that it didn't have a lot to do. He made a few phone calls during the course of the year, but you just had to be at the board meetings. There was actually one board member who's like, Carl, I'm just too busy in my life. I've got so much going on. He goes, I couldn't promise that I could be there. I said, could you make 4 meetings during the course of the year? Really 3. The first one, the strategy session, but then could you make the next 3? And he's like, I could do that. I said, you tell me which ones you're coming to. I'll get them. You tell me when you're available. I'll book the board meetings around you, and I'm going to create a chair position just for you. And the guy had really good karma. His name is JB Blanchard. He always has good karma, has good energy. So I created the quarterly karma chair. And he's like, what? I said, that's right. You're the quarterly karma chair. You show up each quarter. I'll brief you before we come. And I just need your experience share, and I need your influence on the board. And there, at the time, EO had instituted this process called Rockstar. If you hit these certain metrics, you could be awarded this Rockstar chapter. And I'm proud to say we hit that. We became a Rockstar. We hit it the year before with Dan Wilson as our president. And, and since it was a new initiative, you scramble to do these things. And we hit it a second year in a row in our presidency. Well, one of the things that lasted from that was the President's Club. And the past President's Council, it still goes on today. And I still attend. Steve Schneider, who's on here as well. He's, I believe Steve is still on. He was, oh yeah, Steve's on. He's been part of it as well. And, I have found that to be invigorating. I have found that to be, I would, if my membership was ever in question, like, am I getting value out of this thing? Do I keep going? I would join and remain a member of EO just for the President's Council meetings 3 times a year. Now, I don't get to all of them. When I ran them, I was obviously at all 3. I don't get to all of them now, but I get to 1 or 2 a year for sure. And for those alone, I walk out of there so energized. So that was my long way of saying, I want to create that for us. That's what I want these Tuesday meetings to be. I want this to be a place where we come every couple of weeks, right? Now, you tell me you want it weekly, fine. You want it once a month, fine. That's fine. I'll do whatever frequency you want. What I'm thinking, though, before you just tell me what frequency you think would be right, I had gotten feedback in the past that said, listen, we want to be respectful to the council. We want to be part of it. But one of the things that will be hard is, I don't want the pressure that I have to be at every single meeting. Otherwise, I just can't be in it. It won't work. And I've heard that from a number of different people who are in different parts of their life or career, or something came up and they're traveling and this and that. They said, but if it's the sort of thing that I want to be at and I will be at, but I can come and go as I please and I can participate to the level that I want, I like the idea of that. So that's why I was thinking every other week, because you can be at certain meetings, you don't have to be at certain meetings. And if we make this valuable enough, you'll want to be here as often as possible. Okay. And so while this will start out as our every other Wednesday club, as you know, we have every 2 weeks, we have every twice a year, we have the 7-stage growth academy where we get together in October and in February. We are not going to do the in-person. It would normally be in 3 weeks from now. We're not going to be doing that this year. We had done it last year and the year before. It had gone very successfully. And one of the areas of feedback we got is those that were in the strategy track, or those that were the owners, said, we'd like to have something for just the owners. We love it that you're training our team. We love it that we can send our team to the, finance track and the operations track and the business development track, and your team's going to train them in immersive setting for 2 full days. We like that. And we want something special and different for the presidents, right? That overwhelming, that was the feedback. Loved it. Loved spending time with my team, and want something a little bit special for the presidents. Can we get out of here? Can we go somewhere? Can we do something a little bit separate? And so what we would have done this October was we had an entire president's track where we were going to tour businesses, separate speakers, VIP dinner. It was going to be worth your plane fare and your hotel room to come for those couple of days while we were training your teams that you sent to the 7-Stage Growth Academy. And so now feel free to let me know what frequency you would want these meetings. Pardon me. I couldn't mute and fast quickly enough. That you would want these meetings, and then we'll get on to our topic. So that's the vision of this. I'll get there you go. Every other week. Love it. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you, Stacy. So yeah, thank you. There's the link to the book. All right, cool. And so the every other week. Okay, that sounds cool. Every other week sounds good. All right. So again, it'll be and the way we're going to do it is this. This is what I'm thinking as the agenda. Every other week, please. Okay, thanks, Jason. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Let me move on to the next slide here. So here's how we plan to run this. So for our online call every other week, think podcast meets radio show meets TV show meets council. Okay. So the way that we are planning to do this is every other week. It'll be an hour, as it is currently. We will start off with a welcome video opening monologue, just to get the call started. 10 minutes beforehand, there'll be networking. Julia will arrange for the networking and for us to hang out for a couple minutes. We're going to start out at the top of the hour. I will present either current events, what's happening, a trend or a pattern that I'm seeing that I could share with you. We'll do our opening questions like we do so we can initiate some chat amongst us. But then where it will change is we will have a guest expert or celebrity speaker that will spend 20 minutes like a podcast type interview. The difference here is that it will be live and you will get the chance to interact with this person. So my idea with this is to bring you practical guidance, practical ideas, actionable ideas that you will know well in advance. So we're going to advertise the upcoming speaker, the upcoming topic, and there'll be 20 minutes where they will talk about what they are known for or what they do well. And then after that, we'll do Q&A with that person. So you'll have the opportunity to interact with that person, talk with them, ask a question, have them answer you back in real time. Okay. When they're done, we'll talk about our answer to our opening question. And then after that, we'll have one of our either 7-Stage advisors or one of our clients or one of you all that are on this call that want to share, again, any actionable guidance or tips that we should know or we should be using right now in our lives or in our business. All right. So Stacy Stratton wants to tell us the top way that people are hiring right now. I'm hearing a lot about the use of signing bonuses and how to structure, how to win that person over. Because at the end of every pandemic in history, the cost of labor has gone up, not down. It's gone up. Okay. So you got to be creative in how you bring that person in. If, Steve and Todd, as we like to pick on these weekly calls, but one of the things they're brilliant at is quick turnaround fulfillment. and that's their expertise, and they're just fantastic at it. And so if you ever see how their operation works, it's pretty cool how they go from lead to sale to out the door. It's pretty impressive. So, or Doug Ron coming on and doing cybersecurity, or Randy with PPE, or how to execute an enterprise level sale. Whatever that topic is, we'll have that as part of the call. So it'll be live. You'll have access. The key is it's going to be live. It's going to be in the moment. And you're going to have access to these experts. And then, as we always do at the end, you have the opportunity to put your name down and get an introduction, or let us know, or work through the chat to get an introduction to that expert. So we are working together to grow our businesses. And I don't mean this in the, hey, let's just, grow. There's a difference between who's going to survive and who's not. And it's a fine line. Okay. So I go out, I go to a restaurant, I see them making the same dumbass mistakes they made pre-COVID, and they're not going to make it. I walk into a retail establishment and I'm like, you know what? You guys deserve it. Maybe you don't deserve it, but you certainly earned the problems you have, because this is terrible. You're not listening. You're doing what's convenient for you or what's comfortable for you, not what's needed. And I'm telling you guys right now that it's not hard for me to look at a business and say they're screwed if they don't change. Okay. Now I could have said that about you guys, but I know what you're working on. All right. And there is going to be a group of companies that pivot the right way, that are going to emerge and be the leaders for the next 10 to 15 years. Right? I'm adding up the years. I'm 65 in 11 years. Right? So you got me for at least that long. Right? But I know what it takes to get through this next time. And we've been talking about it. You guys know what it takes to get through this time. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, and we're going to need to stick together, or if you don't find the peer group in this class, or you don't have that other outlet, or you want the outlet somewhere else, then yes, you do need to find it. But we mentioned it before, this correction has been the most brutal and merciless correction of anyone I've ever seen or ever read about. This is an unforgiving correction, guys. This is not 2008, 2009, where you could write it out. There is no writing out this one. Okay. So, and you're watching, what you're watching retail do actually is actually pretty clever. They're claiming bankruptcy, and they're using this as an excuse to see if they can clean house and reinvent themselves so they can survive. We'll find out in another year or two. But right now, there's going to be, we're going to be in a different, they're not there's not going to be similar to what there is now. There's going to be a new way that people interact, and in my travels around the world, I get to see some of the things that are coming. And I was just talking to a client of ours, and when you guys get a chance, Google Melrose Arch, Johannesburg. Right? That's the new mall. I saw that 10 years ago. I'm like, that's the future right there. That's the future right there. Okay. That's where retail's going to be 10 years from now. All right. You're starting to see it a little bit now. All right. Businesses are now delivering everything to your home. Okay. We're going to go back to those days where the milk truck, there used to be a milk door. My mom still has one of those little milk, those little styrofoam insulated milk boxes where they delivered the milk through the milk door. She still has that in her hallway. I remember as a kid, we used to get the milk truck used to come to the house. Those days are coming back. It'll be a drone this time around, but they're coming. Okay. Amazon is cutting a deal right now with Simon Malls to put their distribution centers at malls. Guess what Amazon's going to do? They're going to open a distribution center. You know what else they're going to open up? Retail stores. All right. That's coming. Their big challenge in their business is the last loaded mile. The last mile of delivery is their challenge. So they're going to put lockers everywhere, and they're also going to have pickup locations at every mall. And it's going to be the new retail. So there's going to be there. So we all are going to reinvent ourselves one way, shape, or form, one way or another. And we are in the new economy now. We're going to find out a year from now, like, yeah, you got to wear those masks 6 feet apart. Got to have my 5 to 9, schedule as well as my 9 to 5. I'm going to be outsourcing. I'm going to be, having a virtual team. I'm going to have a hybrid office, right? That's all here to stay. It's not temporary. It's coming back. Sorry, it's not coming back. Okay. So as of this time right now, one of the questions was, what does membership in the club look like? I do think the club will evolve. Okay. Well, where it's going to start is we're going to invite everyone that we have a working relationship with. Okay. Now, working relationships means current client talking, close, we're talking very seriously about working, or we've worked in the past and we're not working together now. But we tend to work with owners of businesses that are $1 million and above. That tends to be the most common aspect of the profile of our clients. That puts you in the top 4% of all businesses. Okay. If I include the whole world, it's actually less than 4%, probably 3 or 2%. But the top 4% of all businesses will make $1 million or more. 96% never get there. $1 million is a pretty, while it's an arbitrary number, and you could say 900, 1.2, whatever, but it has some implication to it. And that implication is proof of concept. Proof of concept that you can scale your business. Because you could just grow, you could be a lot of things up to $1 million. Okay. But at $1 million, you have had to have solved some problems, and you have had to make a commitment in a way that a company that's not doing $1 million simply doesn't have to do. $1 million businesses are not better than $250,000 or $500,000 or $750,000 businesses. They're not better people. They're not better businesses. They're just different. It's a different experience. For those of you that are over $1 million, you know what it was like. You know what life was like below, and you know the pivot you had to make to get above. Right? Jason, one of these days we're going to get Jason up here to tell his story about how he went from 6 figures to 7 figures in, going from pilot instructor to, running an online school, and what decisions he had to make to go from 6 figures to 7 figures. And that, and I won't put him on the spot now. We'll talk another time on that. But because we have to get to our masterclass, if you will. But if you've done it, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. And you had to let go of certain things. You had to take on, while you may have done less in the doing, because you leveraged to others, you did a lot more when it came to worrying and taking this on emotionally. I remember when I was president, I thought, wow, it's a pretty easy job, right? And it actually was a pretty easy job. Now I was president the year of Superstorm Sandy. So it got really complicated very quickly for me. In the first half, at the end of the first half of my tenure, Superstorm Sandy hit, and so for the rest of the year, it was pretty crazy. But the actual job was easy. But what I didn't realize, and people had told me, but I didn't fully get it, was how much I worried about everything. It was like I was now a parent to every one of the members. I was the parent to every event, to every sponsor, to everything. And I remember I thought about it 24/7, 365, right? And when we're sitting in the President's Council, you just look at the other presidents and like, I get it. This is on my mind. Of course it is. We already know that. Everything's on your mind. That's the one part about it. So when you're over $1 million, or thereabouts, there are a set of decisions you had to make to be that. If you're over 10 million, there's a set of decisions you had to be that also, right? So so $10 million and above, that's 0.4% of the business population. There's 1.2 million businesses that are over a million, but there's only about 200,000 or thereabouts that are over 10 million. Not a lot. There's not a lot of big businesses out there. Okay, and so so you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. So the way you become a member of the club is the way it's going to start is we have some relationship already. You're going to be invited. Participate to the level that you want to participate. Some of you are a little worried about what you have to offer. You all have a lot to offer. Right? You have distinctions that have made you successful. You've made mistakes that could be a warning signal for others. You've overcome those mistakes that could be a great experience share for others. Maybe you have other experiences like you work with a spouse or a family-run business or a legacy business, or you bought your business. You're not a founder, right? Or you're the you took over a business. There's a lot of ways to get where we're talking, okay? And so we, what I think will happen is we will evolve to a point where we'll start to splinter off, where certain types of groups based on relevance, based on similarity, will evolve. But in the beginning, we will start out as presidents and as owners and founders together. And then it'll likely splinter from there. If we meet somebody from the outside world or you invite them into our world, then we'll evaluate that person. We'll meet with them, make sure that we feel that they are somebody that we feel could positively contribute to the club, and we'll grow from there. Okay. So, and then what will culminate in February, we are planning for our in-person 7-stage growth academy. I'll keep you guys up to speed on that. So you have plenty of time to plan for that. And I'm committed to having that in person. So let's see how that goes. I've been to
Carl,
yeah.
Can you do like a one sheet and send it out to us so we could forward it if we want to send it to somebody?
Oh, absolutely. Good one. Yeah. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea. So Julie, if you can make a note of that, we have, we'll manipulate our 7-stage growth academy one sheet, and we'll create something out of that. Yeah, I would agree. I would invite Tom Gibbons. I would invite Tom. He would be good for the group. So does somebody have a skill, an experience, an achievement? Maybe they learned from some guru somewhere that's no longer around, that they have a particular perspective that would be valuable to the group. That's what we're looking for. I can't put into words how much being part of the past President's Council has meant to me over the last 8 years. And the people that are in it have shared how that was impactful for them. And I'd love for us to have the same thing. So I'll pass that around. It's going to be invite only. And certainly when we get to the point where we're meeting in smaller groups, that will absolutely be invite only. Now, when we have these calls, there'll be parts of our calls that more people can participate in. We might open that up for other people to kind of see what we're all about and see if this is something that they want to be involved in, or if we feel that they should be involved in it. So there'll be parts of this where, it'll be more open to the public. But when it comes down to us sharing more intimately and talking amongst ourselves a little bit more, that will be invite only. And I've got a number of ideas of what we'll do. We'll do fun stuff during the course of the year. We'll go on adventure trips. We'll come together and brainstorm. We'll have strategy session. We'll have experts come to us. And if you just think about what we've been talking about over these last 19 sessions, building your wealth, reducing your taxes, how do you grow your business? How do you beat the competition? Let's go buy some businesses. How do we invest together? All those sorts of things. That's what I want to create. Right? If that makes sense for you, that sounds exciting for you. I'm not looking to replace anything else you're doing. I'm part of a mastermind group and I'm part of EO. I love them both. I don't have any intention of getting rid of either one. So I'm not here to replace it or compete or anything like that. That's not what this is about. This is about a next level group where, I said to my inner circle once before, I said, it's this group and my kids. If anyone from this group or my kids call, I answer that phone. Right? I don't care what's going on. My daughter calls. Chandra could speak to this. Daughter calls. I'm picking up the phone. My son calls. I'm picking up that phone, no matter what. Hey guys, I got to step out. My son called, and you guys know what I'm talking about. I want us to have that group on your phone too. You got your kids, and you got the president's council, and that's what that group means to you. So I've got ideas, and I'll roll out the ideas as to how we implement over time. For example, I know Jason, as an example, is putting together a high level mastermind group for his audience. Well, maybe we go down there. And maybe our group goes down and flies some planes, and I don't know, throw us out of planes. We'll jump out of planes or something like that, Jason, together. And maybe that's where we do our event. Maybe we tag on to something else that's going on. Maybe we create our own. But one thing will be for sure, this group will be what we want it to be. That's how it's intended to be. You got me for 11 more years. I'm not going into politics and have no desire to get in there anytime soon. So this will be one of the core values of 7-Stage Advisors is everyone's input to the result. That's one of our core values. Everyone's input to the result. The other one is positive attitude. All right. Okay. So I'll share with you, again, additional thoughts going down the line, but we'll talk in more depth about this, and we'll talk in more depth about this over the time, but it sounds like there's enough thumbs up and interest for me to continue with this initiative and put this together. Jason says he's going to fly us up. We'll jump out. He's staying in the plane. All right, cool. All right, I like it, Jason. I like how you roll. All right, cool. So we'll keep going with this. Again, we're going to continue with these calls. You want in, great. If that it's not something that's for you right now, I understand too. All right, cool. So research has shown, there was a study done by DNA Behavior and others. What is the top attribute that entrepreneurs share? And that is resilience. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or tough times, and the ability of something to spring back into shape. Your elasticity. Okay, the strong. So as a builder, you put floorboards, you put rafters and up, and you put headers, and you put posts and beams together. And one of the things you judge is the elasticity of the wood. How much is it willing to bend and then come back to shape? And that'll tell you its ability, its longevity. If its elasticity is gone, it'll just snap. It's no good. It's too rigid. Okay. You can't live the world of an entrepreneur, and you will not be successful in the next 5 to 9 years, or you'll go crazy doing it if you're not elastic enough and you're not resilient enough. Okay. So I wanted to leave you with a couple things to think about. Okay. Especially recently. Okay. Resilience is the number one attribute. And I know you guys at different times of your life, and maybe even right now, you have demonstrated that resiliency. But I also know, having spent a lot of time around you guys recently, is COVID's getting old, and COVID is a drag, and COVID is like having a big weight on your shoulders, and it's exhausting. Okay. Now, some of you are still feeling perky and you're on it and you're doing good. And some of you right now are in that mode where you're like, oh man, I'm a little tired. I need a little boost here. All right. So when that happens, and it happens to all of us, when it happens that your resilience or your elasticity or your positivity comes down a little bit, it starts to be reflected in your team. You look around, you're like, wow, everyone seems to have a bad day today. And you're realizing you're having a bad day. You realize, wow, everyone's really up today. And you're realizing you're up today. All right, you're seeing that. So the question I want to ask you right now is, what attributes do you want your team to demonstrate even more than they are right now? You know what? I'd like for them to be even more this, even more that, or a little bit less this, or a little bit less that. What attributes do you want your team to be demonstrating right now, even more than they are right now? Gosh, I wish they were a little bit more positive, or I wish they wouldn't focus so much on what's going on and they focus more in the future. They're getting caught in the weeds. I want them to be more forward thinking. Okay. So what you are seeing in your team might be reflecting in how you are right now. Okay. And so the second part to this is, what specific situations and in what ways do you need to do more or do less or even more or even less, or add or subtract the use of that attribute or attributes? You know what? I'm being a little bit too intense. I'm being a little bit too tough on them. I'm pushing a little too hard. Maybe I need to back up a little bit. Or maybe my accountability has been too much of kicking the butt instead of pat on the back. Or vice versa. Maybe I'm being too nice and I'm letting them go. Maybe I'm not holding them accountable enough. Maybe I'm compromising my boundaries or negotiating my boundaries too much. Okay? What specific situations and in what specific ways? And don't just say, I'm going to be more this. I'm going to be more patient. I'm going to be more positive. What specific situations is it showing up where you might need to do more, do less, add or subtract? So is that the daily huddle? Is that the weekly meeting? Is that when you're doing the one-on-one performance review? Is that when you're on a team meeting? Is that when you're with a client with your team members? What do you need to do more of? What do you need to do less of? What do you need to add or subtract of that attribute that you listed that you want your team to do more or less of? Because they're likely following you. Okay? So I wanted to leave you with those two. Again, this is probably the last time I'll put this up there, but we do have the recordings from the Anatomy of a Comeback. Anatomy of a Comeback class. It was free before. We have all the recordings if you want to get the recordings, but by all means, feel free to shoot me an email or send me a text message and we'll make sure that you get that. And remember in the email, you will get an introduction to the 7-stage advisors marketplace. Okay. So the Google form is in the email that we send the recording out. Make sure that you, if you want an introduction or you're looking for a specific introduction, make sure to do that. I know we're making introductions almost every week, and there's a few people on this call that are already talking about collaborating. So I'm very excited about that. But if you do have any other questions, any thoughts, any comments about the President's Club, President's Council, anything we've been talking about this week, please just let me know. And I'll shoot me a note, and we will make that happen. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for coming on. And I'll save you the trouble, Julia. Nobody thinks the schools are going to make it more than a month. So I think there was a pretty good consensus on that one. We'll see how well they do. So guys, I've been thinking a lot about this weekly call, and it's the work that you all are doing, and it's the way that you're showing up in your lives and in your businesses, and it's the way that you're pushing forward that's made me regroup and really want to pivot these calls to be an even more impactful part of your lives. Because there was a thought that, these things, this weekly meeting was started because we needed COVID triage every week. And then, my intention was that, we'll just, shut it down when we feel we've got a handle on it. But the way that you guys have been going after things and the way that you have been working hard through this has made me, Julia, and the 7-stage team want to work harder for you. And so, we put this forward to the coaches on Monday, and we said, what do you guys think we ought to do? And the coaches and the advisors all agreed, let's double down. Let's make it more impactful. Let's make it even more meaningful, and let's be of even more service, however we can. So I'm glad you guys feel the same way. We'll keep working hard for you, and we'll make this a real success. I'm sure of that. So have a great day, everybody. Enjoy, and we will catch up for you in 2 weeks, with our new format. And look for the emails, and we'll get you that one sheet so you guys can pass it along to anyone that you would like to invite. Have a great afternoon, everyone.